Today we're sitting down with someone who's watched Tampa Bay grow, change, and become one of the most talked about markets in Florida. Vicky Carden. She brings decades of experience in real estate, investing, and project management. But there's another side of her story that I want to explore today, her commitment to veterans, families, and the Tampa Bay community. We're not just about talking about buying houses and selling houses. We're talking about money, wealth, veterans, the American dream, the changing face of Tampa Bay success, failure, and what it takes to build something that lasts. And I'm not looking for the rehearsal answers today. I want the answers that make you think. Welcome to the Five Mics podcast, Vicky Carden. Vicky, let's get into it.
So I'm a Midwest girl from Akron, Ohio. Came to Florida in 1979.
Oh, wow.
I'm telling my age, don't tell nobody. I'm very passionate about helping people and been blessed with the ability to talk to just about anybody. That being said, it allows me to put myself out there in some arenas that maybe other people aren't comfortable in. And I think in doing that, it allows me to have the exposure to individuals, whether it's a race or their sexual background and other things that may hinder folks from getting the help that they need. They gravitate to me. And I'm truly blessed that I can do that. And a lot of times I'm able to connect individuals with the right resources to get them the help that they need. I do a lot of volunteering. I'm very passionate about my veterans. My vets are my tribe. And I do attend several groups. I've got my MVET shirt on today. I'm a big supporter of the MVETs. They do a lot with the community. But I do have near and dear to my heart the Veterans Council. I'm a part of that. Jill Mullenberg is doing a great job with running as the president there. I attend Bob Vets on Thursdays. I love our folks down there we usually run with 80 to about 100 vets down there. Mm-hmm. And they all like to hug me. Now, we do have some other ladies there, but, I kind of make my rounds to the tables. Everybody wants to sit, and gab a little bit. And I make sure folks get a little hug now and then, and it fills my heart too. But I'm also very involved with Hillsborough County Veterans Helping Veterans. Mike Odell's the president of that. I think that they do a tremendous job helping veterans that can't get help within the normal parameters of the VA and other community resources. And that being said, a lot of what I do is trying to liaise or connect or collaborate with the right entities with people. I've learned a lot as I've grown through my journey of life. I've gotten to know so much more about the needs of the retired veterans, the folks that were in short periods of time, and then also our active military. In 2022, I was working with several groups to collaborate, so those veterans organizations would be able to know there's other groups out there, so they would be able to promote each other, make sure that the veteran community in general in our county would be able to know that these other resources are out there. And I don't know if you ran into this, but there are a lot of groups out there that are kind of on their own island doing their thing, and they don't realize there's another group that maybe they could work in tandem with them, or they could complement with them, or there could even be redundancies. And the way the things are these days, social media is out there, but it can be very, very overwhelming. So it's nice to still have that face-to-face where you can actually see these individuals that run these groups to get that help and get their pamphlets or what have you. There are a lot of opportunities that, unfortunately, different families don't even know that are out there. And I'm a big advocate for vets to just go ahead and get signed up at the VA. I don't need that right now. I hear that so many times. And unfortunately, when something happens, they have no idea how to get the DD 214. As you know, that is your gold card. If you don't have the DD 214, you can't do anything.
Correct.
And if you're not already signed up, how does your family know how to get what is needed? Whether you could just be sick and you're incapacitated, or God forbid the person passes away. I had the somewhat pleasure, and I hate to use that term pleasure, but helping families at their worst time of need. I did work in a funeral home for over 6 years. I left there a couple of years ago, but I still get several calls, probably once or twice a week, people still needing help. And that is the most critical time. The sensitivities are so difficult for families when they don't have anything signed up, and they don't know what the VA benefits are and what is the significant other, or even if it's just a friend that's trying to assist. And we do run into a lot of veterans that don't have family. You asked me earlier about this flag. This is from Mr. Thomas Trunk. I met him through my journey of working at the funeral home. And back then I was writing pre-arrangements. I met him actually at a 9/11 event at the AMVETS post, post 44. I have that shirt on today. And I got to know him, and he was in an independent living facility, and a couple of years later he passed away, and they couldn't find the family. So that being said, I got in touch with several of the rider groups. The AMVETS were part of that too, the combat riders. And we were able to honor him. We did have him in the back of the hearse and got a police escort. And we went as far as we could with the Tampa PD, and then the Highway Patrol met us at their point, and we went over to Florida National and honored him. I think there are a lot of groups of combat riders do the final mile rides for these folks too, and they played a big role in helping me facilitate this. And it just blesses my heart that I was able to do that for him and make sure he's not forgotten. And there are so many times we run into homeless veterans or families where they've disowned the veteran. That happens a lot too. As you and I both know, substance abuse, whether it's alcoholism or other things, is a big problem for a lot of our veterans. And you can't always get people to get the help that they need, which is very unfortunate. And we still lose a lot of people today from the veteran suicide. And it's very difficult. I've had a lot of people that I've tried to help with that as well and support those groups. You know, the Veterans Council is like a congress of groups that come together. I know you're somewhat involved in that now. And getting these groups together, again, like I said earlier, is an integral part of us getting the word out of how we can help. And whether it's an individual or a group, to get them that information is key. And then we have a lot of people that are coming out of the military that, you know, need jobs. We have the Vet Resource Center, and we have other local places such as the Hillsborough County Veterans Resource Office. That's at the Veterans Memorial Park, but there are 5 locations. A lot of people have no idea that the county has resources to help the veterans. Yeah. And so I try to promote that too. So I'm more of that face-to-face person. I go into the groups, I visit with folks. I'll go to the canteen. Sometimes I buy the drink, sometimes they buy me the drink, but I want to have that camaraderie with them. And, you know, I get blessed. A lot of people think I'm a veteran, and I'm not. My sister was in the Air Force. She's played a big role in me, you know, getting to this point in life. She's a big supporter of what I do. Unfortunately, she does not live here. She lives in Nevada. But these people just need a resource, and it's good that I can understand the mindset even though I'm not a veteran. And that is so critical, especially, and you touched on my real estate, but that also plays a part in anything we do. When you're in these groups, understanding how veterans think is very, very different than your normal community, your public. And that's why a lot of people like being around me, because I can understand that. I try to give them their space. I can see triggers. And that's when I can go back to, depending on what I'm involved in, I can say, this is something that we can highlight, and this is something that we need to look at putting some resources together. And I've been doing some of that too. I'm going to put the Veterans Summit back together again. I did that in 2022. We've been talking about doing that again. And I think getting these groups back together is really going to be beneficial. And there's probably new groups in the past 3 years that would like to probably showcase what they can provide as well. But the mental health and the physical health, and knowing that you've got a resource, you're not on an island by yourself, is a big part of what I do when I'm out in these groups and helping people. And again, a lot of people that are in those groups, I'm not a member at the VFW. That's okay. How can I help you? That is so key. Or I'm not comfortable going there because of my race or my sexual orientation. I ran into that many times. It's sad. We still live in that world, but I am so glad that I can help them because they come to me on these things. And I just want to be that person for them. I love families. I love helping people. I've never met a stranger. There is an ability that we could do so much more getting the word out about helping people, volunteering. We need more people to get out and volunteer in these groups. Unfortunately, the same people do a lot of the work, and we need to do a little bit better job of that. I've also had the blessing of being a guardian for the West Central Honor Flight, and I'm a big proponent for the Honor Flight and getting the veterans to go. I just recently had a good friend of mine that we were trying to push him up the list, and I actually have a connection. She's a good friend of mine. She's the president of that. So we rode to get him on the first honor flight of this year because his health unfortunately was declining. He's a Vietnam vet. And people just don't really understand how these folks, when they go on this trip, how they're blessed. It's a very long day. It's about 20 hours, and you start the week before. They have a meet and greet, and they go through everything with the veteran and their guardian. And then the following week is when they go on the flight, leaves out of St. Petersburg. And so the flight leaves at 7 o'clock in the morning. They go to DC, they provide the food, they take them to the different monuments and different sites, and then they get home. And I don't want to spill the beans of when they get home, but it's really cool when they come back to the airport. And I just love that we've got groups that are so diverse like that are doing different things for our veterans. I have another friend, he's involved in iGolf for vets. He does that a lot to help them, and what they do is they go golfing, and that helps again with their mental state. I think it's really thinking outside of the box, and I'm really excited for the gentleman. His name's Lahara Woodhouse. He runs that, and they do a tremendous job helping families. His wife still works at the VA. She's been a great advocate for me. I've helped several people with their disability, and she's been a key part of that for me. So I actually have some pretty good resources. I try not to tap into her too much, but it's more of an advice thing than anything else. And I'm just happy that I've met these people through my journey of being in these groups, and just try to embrace what's going on and love on everybody and take care of families. But that's what I do. And at the end of the day, I sleep good because I know I've done good things in the community, and we can take pleasure in knowing that there's hopefully going to be more people like myself who are not veterans that are going to be out there doing the same thing. I know there's a lot of spouses out there, and children of spouses, and sisters and that, and friends that are starting to get more and more involved. And I think that's awesome. And as we continue to do what we do and get the word out, the more we have people involved, the more we're going to be able to help veterans. And it shouldn't be a matter of a generation. I've met a lot of great generations of veterans, especially at Bob's Vets. We've had 4 or 5 World War II vets there, very high level military people that have come in and out of there. And it's just a blessing to know that I have been able to be exposed to those people and I learn from them. I love hearing their stories. I can't get enough of it.
Is there one veteran that you've helped whose story has stayed with you?
Well, I mean, definitely helping Mr. Trunk was a big one for me. Um, I did have a family that they couldn't find any of their VA paperwork, and they were trying to get honors to go to the National Cemetery as well. And I was able to contact the National Cemetery, and I've done some work with Colleen, who does the PR there at Florida National Cemetery, and she was able to help me get things pointed in the right direction. And actually, this was for an incapacitated child. It was not for the veteran, but the incapacitated child, because it was that individual was related to the conditions from Vietnam. We were able to get them up to the Florida National Cemetery as an incapacitated child of a vet. So yeah, that's totally outside of the norm
Right.
by any means. And that was, during some time that I was still working at the funeral home. But I do enjoy helping vets with what I do in real estate. And you're right. Buying a house is a huge financial decision.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to live? How is this going to work? It's much more than that. The financial piece and knowing the loans.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much information out there, and knowing how to navigate it is so critical. And I will share that I am not a loan person, but I will say some of these loans, even though they're VA loans, could potentially be heavy laden in fees, and people need to know that. They need to be informed of what these loans are going to cost them, not just on the interest rate.
Right. So what happened in your life that made you realize that you needed to take control of your own financial future?
So as a teenager, I had some things happen with my family life, and not to get into all those details, it catapulted me into, I got to take care of myself. I can't lean on anybody else, and it's made me a stronger person. And it's who I am. And I'm just that person when I'm really passionate about making sure people are taken care of. I want to dig my heels in. And I do the same thing on my professional side too. I want to do well. I like giving back. I do a lot of volunteering. And when you volunteer, people just find out what you do. It's not like it's a sales pitch by any means. But it really has made me who I am as a person. I never had children. It wasn't in the cards. I love kids. It just wasn't in the cards with, the way my life turned out. And I try to look forward and not look back. And I don't want to live life with regrets, and I want to be happy and tell the people that I love them. Because we know tomorrow is not promised.
Right. Do you remember the first time that you made some serious money and thought, okay, I can actually do this?
Well, I mean, I've been making some pretty good money since probably about 20 years now. But I've always been a go-getter. I've worked extremely hard. I have leaned into people that have done extremely well. I believe in being around positive people and learning from them. A good part of what I do is listening. I don't think we do a very good job in any of these arenas with listening. And that's a critical part of it.
I did.
All right. I didn't know if I had that laying on.